The second reason is this. In John chapter 14, 1 and 2, where Jesus said, "Don't be worried. Believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you, and if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there you may be also," seems to be different from Zechariah 14:4. If you turn over to Zechariah chapter 14 and verse 4. Zechariah chapter 14 and verse 4. Zechariah chapter 14 and verse 4, this differs from John chapter 14, 1 and 2. Jesus said, "I'm going to come again and receive you unto myself," and he's talking about heaven. He says, "I'm going to come and take you. I'm preparing a place for you. I'm going to take you to the Father's house." We get that same thought in 1 Thessalonians, where it says, "Then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we be with him forever." Zechariah 14:4 says, let's go back to verse 2. "I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle," God says, "and the city shall be taken, the houses rifled, the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut from the city. Then," verse 3, "then shall the Lord go forth and fight against those nations as whom he fought in the day of battle." Then look at verse 4. "And his feet," whose feet? The Lord's feet, the one that's going forth to battle. "Then his feet shall stand in that day upon" where? The Mount of Olives. Here you have nothing about the fact of Christians being gathered together to him. Here you have nothing about the rapture. All you have is you have the Lord coming to earth, and he puts his feet on the Mount of Olives. In the other passages, we are going to be received unto himself, and it seems like we're going to heaven. In 1 Thessalonians 4, we are caught up together to meet the Lord in the air. That part of Christ's second coming is different from this part where he comes and his feet stand on the Mount of Olives. These passages would suggest then there's got to be a difference. There's a time that Christ will come for his church when he meets them in the air, and then there'll be a second time that he comes to establish his millennial kingdom, defeat his enemies, and at that time he will descend and his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives. So I think that those passages are proof that we have two phases, if you want, or two events in the coming of Christ. The first where he comes and he catches up his church, and the second he comes with his church.